Congratulations on your set in Gender Agenda. I really enjoyed it. Had me howling. I was listening with headphones on, and my husband was like, "What's so funny? What's so funny?"
Thank you so much.
If I could just take you back a little bit, first of all, I'd love to know when you first realized that you had the ability to make people laugh and how that kind of manifested itself in your life.
Oh, uh, I guess I first realized I could make myself laugh as a means of overcoming, depression and anxiety. So just coming up with the most flippant and irreverent way of dealing with my life. So just figured I may as well share it with others.
Yeah, well, I think making ourselves laugh is underrated.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, what about stand-up? When were you sort of drawn to doing that? What was it that that initially drew you to get up there on a stage?
Yeah, I'm an elder millennial, so I was a teenager of the 90s. So I grew up on Comedy Central, HBO comedy specials. I think everyone in my generation secretly wanted to either be a punk rocker or a stand-up comic, and I've gotten to do both, so I'm winning.
Yeah, and in terms of being a musician first, I wondered like did that help in some ways in terms of being comfortable on stage or did you find that it helped when you first started doing stand up?
Yeah, certainly. Um I've actually been on stage my entire life. I started in children's theater and then just continued doing theater and music throughout my youth, then music as an adult. So being on stage is where I'm normal.
It's home, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about Portland, Oregon? Because that's really where you kind of spread your wings as a comedian. What was that like as a place to sort of hone your craft as a comedian?
Portland's one of the best. There's ample stage time here. I always talk to people in like LA and they'll say, "Oh, I haven't gone to get on stage in a month." And I'm like, "I don't know what that means." We can very easily get on stage 3, 5 times a night here. And when I first moved here, at least, Portland's very blue collar, kind of small town, pretending to be a big city. So it's cheap. It's much easier to survive without a real job here, so that helps.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be said for that. I think that was the last time that happened here was in the 80s, I think, I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. Um, and how would you describe your approach to comedy?
Oh, how would I describe my approach? Um, I usually just ruminate on random things until they're funny to me. So if I'm feeling awkward about something or I notice something is a little off in a situation, especially if it makes me uncomfortable, then I like to just really obsess about it until it amuses me.
And how about more specifically your approach to talking about gender and sexuality in your comedy? And sort of as a supplementary question, if that was different when it came to doing this show, to doing something that's called, Hannah Gadsby's Gender Agenda.
Yeah, I don't necessarily specialize in comedy about gender or sexuality. Um, I talk about all sorts of topics. I'm a much more interesting person than just my gender or sexuality. But uh, those things, they're going to come up because it is part of the human experience. Straight comics talk about their weird straight people sex all the time, but it's not considered a political statement when they do it.
Or niche comedy or
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I was looking at a few other interviews that you've done, and I saw that you talked about how comedy and being a stand-up, particularly standing up on stage, is really about being unapologetically your authentic self and being honest. And I wondered, how you came to that realization. That's what
Uh,
comes to you anyway. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Starting comedy in Portland, I, like I said, kid of the 90s. So the first time I hit the stage, I tried to just replicate what I had seen on TV 1,000 times. And that doesn't fly here. So there's definitely some pushback. One of the harshest criticisms I ever got was, "I'm so impressed you memorized all that." And that was the entire critique. So I learned pretty quickly that I needed to be a little more honest and open.
Yeah. And that's what makes it unique, I guess, too, for every comedian, if they're coming from their
Absolutely.
own, from their own place. So
It's also how we really find like our fan base ultimately, because we're speaking to our specific fan base's experiences and insecurities and concerns that we just happen to share in common.
and so what was your reaction when you got the call about this, about being invited to be part of Hannah Gadsby's comedy special, Gender Agenda?
Oh, I immediately wet myself. I mean, what do you do when you get an email
We've got a
saying
kitty
Hannah
joining us.
Gadsby wants
Hello.
to work with you? Yes,
Who is
I have
this?
four of them. This is Kabibi Kamari Ngozi. She's our eldest.
Okay.
Oh. Uh, don't worry, I can spell it out for you if you need. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I think I mean, any big name comic were to reach out to me, it would be exciting. I would be thrilled. I would be honored, obviously. To have it be Hannah Gadsby of all people. Yeah, I was definitely taken aback, um, and very, very pleased. I could not think of a better fit for my, I guess, world global debut or whatever we want to phrase it.
And it's a really funny special. Like I was saying, I was howling, and I feel like you each get kind of a decent amount of time because sometimes when it's a big lineup, it can feel a little bit rushed. But I felt like we got a good sense of who you all were really, and it was great seeing you on stage together. What was it like being? And during the closing credits, we see a bit of footage of people get it like you guys getting ready and all that kind of thing. So what was it
Yeah.
like being part of this lineup of gender queer comedians?
It was absolutely phenomenal. It it felt more like being with family than any time I've been with actual family members. Uh, and it's fun because like everyone in the lineup were very different comics, very different people, very different backgrounds. But for the week we spent together in London, it was like we had just always known each other and we were just catching up with each other. It was absolutely amazing. Of course, Hannah and Jenno make sure that everything is as comfortable for us as possible because they understand that we're all a little, you know, neurospicy. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
And I loved Hannah's opening to this special when they talk about, this is the most trans people that have got together for a Netflix thing since the protest. Um,
Yes.
and I wonder what your thoughts on that were, especially given that you wrote the open letter to Dave Chappelle about his uh, special in 2021.
Yeah. Uh, do you mean in terms of like being on Netflix?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Uh,
On a platform when there are, you know, transphobic, specials with transphobic jokes in that we know about.
yeah, I definitely side with Hannah on this that, you have to enter the conversation. Uh, we have to pull up our seat at the table, also make our own table. I'm a big fan of throwing the table over and like just moving my own table in place. So for me, I've always been an outsider in whatever context I'm in. So it doesn't bother me to be on a platform that has material that's opposed to my existence because I live in the United States. There wherever I go, whatever job I do, I'm going to be working with people who don't like me or don't want me to exist. So as long as I get to be the loudest voice in the room, I'm happy.
And when it comes to your material, we don't want to give too much away because we want people to it
Yeah.
to be fresh and people enjoy it. But you are sort of riffing on cis being thought of as a slur, and I just wondered, what kind of inspired you to want to talk about that?
Oh, so the special was recorded last year, and that was just the whole online dialogue of the second half of 2023. Just a bunch of straight people thinking cisgender was our slur for them, which is hilarious to me. They have no idea what sort of terrible things I actually call them. So, yeah, figured I may as well address it. Let them know, Because also, so many interviews I've done, there's this question of can trans people take a joke? Why are trans people so sensitive? So on and so forth. Um, I have never met anyone as sensitive as a straight dude. They'll cry over anything. It's amazing.
Now, I know we don't have too much time, but I've just got one final question for you, and it's for your favorite piece of LGBTQ plus culture. So it could be a book, a TV series, a movie, theater, art, music, or a person who identifies as LGBTQ plus. So someone or something that's really resonated with you and why.
Okay, so the correct answer is going to be Angelica Ross. She's an absolute icon, idol, very intelligent, uh, always has her finger on the pulse of every important social issue and movement, and yet also maintains this very upbeat and bright, sunny, welcoming presence, which I absolutely admire. My actual favorite part of LGBT culture are twinks in jock straps in pride parades. That is the whole reason I became gay personally. I was like, oh yes, twinks and jock straps. I'm here for it.
Thanks so much. And I love that you have your Progress Pride flag behind you and I have mine, so we're sort of mirroring each other
Yes,
slightly.
exactly. This is the
Oh,
gayest interview ever.
good. Yeah, oh, it was such a delight and look forward to speaking to you again.